on China. I think there needs to be a broader ban on foreign entities or foreign business interests buying up properties here. The other thing I'll say is I was really disturbed to find, because in his first term he was pushing back against this, that Donald Trump approved the merger between Nippon Steel, which is a Japanese company. That Japanese company bought U.S. steel.
But it's an ally, you know, so that's the way.
I don't care. I don't care if it's an ally.
Just saying that's how he's justifying
I don't care. I don't care. We need to protect property and businesses in the United States. Full stop.
I actually agree with that.
Oh, many of you are going to love this video. So Anna Kasparian has been blowing up lately, and rightfully so. She is destroying these Zionists left and right. So I got a compilation of her top 10 moments with my commentary. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel. Now let's continue to number 9.
You want to know why?
Yeah, tell me why.
When you see the slaughter of all those innocent kids in Gaza, and our government provides cover for it, and in fact funds it, that leads to a lot of rage among hardworking Americans who see their quality of life go down the drain as we're funding a genocide.
Yes, oh, that was a legendary debate when Anna Kasparian destroyed Adam Sosnick, the guy that nobody likes on PBD podcast, the guy who everyone is wondering why does he even have a platform, the die-hard Zionist. She absolutely demolished him, and it's true. Why is the quality of life for Americans going down while Israel enjoys a budget surplus?
The Democratic Party gives fodder to Republicans who are rightfully saying that these socialist Marxist policies aren't going to work. And honestly, this is an electoral advantage for Republicans, I think, because a backlash against him will galvanize voters and encourage them to go to the polls, not just in New York, but across the country, because people don't want this. We rejected that in 2024.
Okay, so I'm just curious, is there a day you wake up where you don't see terrorism everywhere? Because you literally just implied that this guy's a terrorist, and I found that bigoted, Islamophobic, and absolutely disgusting. If you don't like his policies, I can understand that, and we can have a discussion about those policies. But it seems like you just have a problem with the fact that he's Muslim. You have a problem with the fact that he looks a little different from other previous leaders. Don't interrupt me. I'm still speaking. I didn't interrupt you. Listen, the problem with that mayoral race is that the Democratic candidates who ran against him in the primary offered nothing. They offered nothing but the status quo. Andrew Cuomo was the former disgraced governor of that state who somehow thought that he had, I don't know, the entitlement to have his past erased and that people would totally accept him again. I'm really happy to find that the people of New York City rejected him because he's a complete and utter disaster. Now, as it pertains to Mamdani, we should actually talk about what he focused on as he was campaigning, because he actually did run a fantastic campaign, even if you don't agree.
Never called him terrorist.
It was gross. It's gross.
How are you condoning his usage of globalized intifada? Is that
I think it's stupid. He probably shouldn't say stupid stuff like that because it's going to be misinterpreted. I know what he meant by it. It doesn't matter though. People like you are going to be shivering about it. So he shouldn't use words like that.
I think Mamdani is low-key a troll, and he's a genius with that. I think he's a global intifada, knowing darn well is going to raise some eyebrows and is going to go viral. And he's a beast at it, man. Look at him. He's destroying everyone. He's pretty much going to win the race. And if there's one thing I learned from that race is that, well, something I kind of already knew in the back of my head, but it just made me remember it again, is that Islamophobia is alive and well, baby.
Was used in the 1930s and 40s, that Jews should not be safely evacuated to the United States.
Right, I know. One trick pony.
They need to stay in Germany. They need to stay in Poland. Otherwise, it's an ethnic cleansing.
You're not going to silence my ass. You're not going to silence my ass by invoking the Holocaust or calling me an anti-Semite. I don't give a shit. Okay, I see what's happening clearly. I'm going to speak up about it, and no one's going to shut me up. Period. End of story. We see what's going on. The entire international community sees what's happening. The Israeli government wants to genocide and ethnically cleanse Palestinians, not just in Gaza, but the West Bank too. Look at the terror they're dealing with in the West Bank.
Americans are dealing with a housing crisis, drug overdose epidemic, unsafe drinking water, unimaginable economic inequality, a broken healthcare system, and more. Yet a whopping 78% of Israel's arms imports came from and were paid for by the United States. No money for Medicaid, but endless funds for genocide. So if anyone is wondering why all of these disgusting smears about Mamdani being a jihadist or an alleged anti-Semite, why they're not working, maybe it's because the candidate's economic priorities are shared by the very voters who helped him trounce Andrew Cuomo. Refusing to serve Israel before the American people should not be controversial. Refusing to prioritize New Yorkers as the mayor of New York City should be. So that's my take on Mamdani.
So a few things I want to say there. She said that the US is paying for the weapons that Israel has. That's true, but I just want to be more specific here so people realize that it's not just US, it's our tax money, Our tax money gives them gift cards, and they use those gift cards to buy weapons from the weapons manufacturers. The weapon manufacturers make a boatload of money, and Israel gets some nice state-of-the-art equipment, and our tax money is gone. In essence, our tax money is going straight up to the weapons manufacturers. And she mentioned the healthcare. And I guess the big problem here is that the United States has horrible healthcare. This is something everyone agrees on. And yet Israel enjoys, I believe they enjoy universal healthcare. They all get free healthcare. Insane, insanity. And they got a budget surplus.
So evidence and stories like these do not stop scumbags. And I mean that with my whole chest, okay? I'm saying it with my whole chest. Scumbags like Mark Levin and Chris Cuomo, by the way, from furthering their pathetic propaganda to provide cover for Israel's atrocities and war crimes. That is what is currently taking place. That is the reality of the situation. If it weren't the reality of the situation, journalists would be free to operate and do their jobs in Gaza to document what's happening. There's a very intentional effort to prevent the documentation of what's happening. It's not at all a coincidence in my mind that more than 200 journalists have already been killed in Gaza. And I'm sorry, I mean, Israel just announced not too long ago that they're conducting a ground invasion in Deir al-Balah. And it's interesting to me that the death toll has kind of stood still at like around 60,000. I don't believe for a second that 60,000 is what the death toll actually is. I think it's much higher.
That's the sad part, is that I think this video was made before that Al Jazeera news reporter was murdered. And the other thing is, I guess what makes me really upset is the 60,000 death toll. I don't believe that for a second. If you guys had a chance to watch Theo Von's interview with the Gaza doctor, it was a heartbreaking interview, and I recommend everyone go watch it after this video. It's one, I haven't done a compilation on that just because I want people to go watch that interview for itself. It doesn't even have 1 million views yet, but everyone should watch it. And one of the things they said is that they only count people dead that died at the hospital. And there's like people being blown up all over the place, probably still under the rubble. It's insane. And so they're not even counted. I guarantee, dude, it's got to be over 100,000 at this point. It's got to be. The amount of destruction we've seen, it's got to be over 100,000.
You see the images on the ground. It's just absolutely brutal, and intentionally so. It's meant to be unlivable. The aerial bombardments, the destruction of infrastructure, the destruction of hospitals, universities, refugee camps, residential buildings, that's all intentional. So when Trump talks about, no one wants to live there, like Gazans don't want to live there. I mean, it's unlivable. Yeah, it is unlivable. On purpose. It was made unlivable with the bombs that we American taxpayers are funding on behalf of the Israeli government so they can drop them, on the heads of these Palestinian people, destroy everything they have. It's just hilarious, right? To point to the awful situation on the ground that we aided and abetted, and then use that as the justification for the ethnic cleansing that is to come. So the hostage families, God bless them. I feel so terrible for them because their own government doesn't care about the hostages, clearly. They've been protesting, they've been demanding that the war come to an end, to no avail.
If so, the Republicans think censoring or punishing, pro-peace or pro-Palestinian protesters is somehow going to fix any issues we might have in this country with anti-Semitism, they're wrong. They have an entirely different thing coming, right? And I think,
you know what? I think the Republicans know darn well it's not going to help. I think they're just forced to do it because they're all paid out. They're all paid off by AIPAC, baby. In fact, it reminds me of this hoodie. This hoodie is actually one of the most comfortable hoodies I've ever had. It's a friend's hoodie, and I'm just helping support. Basically, it's a picture of the White House, and it says, Israeli occupied territory. I think it's super creative. If you like this hoodie, I'll put a link in the description somewhere. Hope you guys love it. Now, let's continue with what Anna was saying. It just reminded me of the hoodie.
The left should have learned that lesson themselves. I don't think they have.
Well, it's tough for the left because they are sort of feeding into the stereotype that wherever 2 or more sort of pro-peace Palestinian people are gathered, it's going to, behind their back is this sort of cesspool of Hamas terrorists.
It's so frustrating to me because the vast majority of those protesters are not hateful, do not agree with what Hamas did, are not singing the praises of Hamas. Yeah. But you'll always have that handful of cosplaying revolutionaries who care more about themselves and getting their name out there by being needlessly spicy or edgy. And so they'll say disgusting, loathsome things. And it's so easy to take those few examples and make a blanket statement about all those protesters, when in reality, there's a ton of Jewish people included in those protests, right? They're not all anti-Semitic, they're not Hamas supporters, but for those who are looking to smear the protesters in general, it's easy to do it when you...
Just like a lot of Jewish people voted for Mamdani, right? They call him anti-Semitic, they call him a Muslim terrorist, and yet he won the Jewish vote. How crazy is that?
You have that handful of morons who say moronic things. But in regard to the message that he's trying to put out there in regard to, corporate rule in America and money in politics in America, that is an accurate message. But you both make a great point about how money in politics has corrupted both political parties. And for the Democrats to pretend as though
money in politics, baby, reminds me of this hoodie again, is really occupied territory, the White House.
They're totally innocent of this is ridiculous to me, especially considering what we experienced in the last election cycle. I mean, Kamala Harris raised far more money than the Trump campaign did. And in fact, she raised far more dark money than the Trump campaign did. And then she moved forward in essentially squandering all of that money. And I think this past election really shows the kind of grift that exists within our election cycles, because that money gets spent with all these consultants and all these various, PR groups, and the amount of money they charge for their services, which have proven to be a failure in this past election cycle for the Democrats, is absolutely outrageous.
Before we go on to the first one, I just want to remind everyone one more time, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel. It helps this video go out to a larger audience. Now let's finish this video.
I just want to talk to you. So
well, you need to give me one promise.
Go on.
You have to give me one promise that you guys aren't going to do me dirty in the thumbnail for this video. You promise?
You know what? I can't promise, because we've done some corkers recently, particularly involving Cenk. But as he knows better than anybody, a great thumbnail drives more traffic, and that's the game we're in. We want people to watch what we're doing.
True.
Otherwise, what's the point? So we are very proud of our thumbnail.
I mean, if I look attractive. If I look attractive, that might actually draw some more eyebrows. So think about it.
Wow, you're playing that card. Well, I admire it.